So this is a upgrade kit for the M52, M52 TU and M54 engines. And this kit upgrades the head bolt threads in the block to a M14x2 insert. And as you might know, there's a big issue with these engines that they pull the head studs really easily. So this gives you more engagement into the block for a stronger thread. So the kit includes this drill fixture and those two holding bolts, and then you have this alignment pin, and you also get the correct size drill and tap for the inserts. So I'm going to start with this hole right here, and as you can see there's 2 arrows and 6 dots on the jig, and those are supposed to go in line with the cylinders, because the bolt pattern on these blocks aren't square, they're slightly rectangular. It's also important to note that this fixture doesn't really work if you have stripped threads already. It's made to upgrade the threads you already have, because the alignment pin uses the original threads to locate the drill for the correct position. Now for depth you have to measure and see how deep your threads are, but they're generally 45 to 46 millimeters deep, so you're going to drill out to the same depth with this one. And you have to remember to add the thickness of the jig to the drill to make sure that you drill to the correct depth. And then I just put a piece of tape to mark the position. And then you just unscrew the location pin and start drilling. It's important to note that the engine block that I'm using is not something that I'm going to use in the future. So if you're going to do this, then I would make sure to have something soft under and not directly onto a concrete floor, because it's going to scratch the mating surface between the oil pan and the engine block. So just make sure you have a soft surface between the block and the floor. And you don't have to pull the engine to use this tool. You can also use it in the car. You just have to make sure that you block everything off so you don't get any metal shavings where you don't want them to be. And then I'm going to flip the jig over to the other side, so we have the bigger holes for the tap. And you're going to use the same lockdown bolts, but in the other threads. And when tightening these 2 bolts when tapping, I just do them hand tight so the jig is flush with the block but not stuck. So you want to make sure that the jig can move around to position the tap correctly. And the lube that I use is usually WD-40 for aluminum. And then just apply some light pressure and start running the tap in. And then when you have run down the tap a bit, then you can just remove the jig and tap the rest of the way without the jig. And it's also important to clean out the threads in between each pass to make sure there aren't any chips in the bottom. And then you just run the tap down until it bottoms out. So there you have those two tap threads, and these are the inserts that I'm going to be using. These are M14 by 2 inserts, and then you have M10 by 1.5 on the inside. You can use a normal bolt. I used an ARP bolt in this case, just as a insert driver. And then you apply some Loctite. This has to be a high temperature. Usually Loctite 270 is the one that I'm using. But then I just used the normal one for demonstration purposes. You also want to make sure that the thread insert is as deep as it should be, and they should be 5 millimeters below the deck surface. You can just wait for the Loctite to harden and then take the studs out, but if you're impatient like me, you can just apply some light pressure to the side of the bolt and then unscrew it. So now that we have these inserts, we're going to use them to hold down the jig for the other two bolts. And it's the same process, just the jig flipped over to the other side. You put the alignment pin in and you tighten the hold down bolts. Then you remove the pin. And then you drill out the holes. And if you don't want to use your hardware, you can just use the alignment pin to insert the inserts. And here's the final result. All of the bolts come out square and the head goes on with no issues. This kit is mainly designed for people who don't have access to special tools. So if you have special tooling, then you might as well use these, but this is designed for people that don't have access to those. So yeah, this gives you the extra strength to turbo your M54. And this kit is available on my website if you're interested. It's link in bio, and thanks for watching.